On June 11th of 2013, the front desk received an anonymous tip from an individual saying they were suspicious of a couple death-related incidents and an incident where a young woman was hospitalized and was also feared that she was going to pass away. This caller gave the name of the Staudte family. He was suspicious that the mother of the home, Diane Staudte, could have been involved in the deaths of her husband, her son, and now the grave illness of her daughter. I began to do some internet searches on the family, looking at social media accounts, just whatever was out there. I found out the Staudte family consisted of Diane, the mother. She was very active in church, and she also had been a nurse for a long time. Mark was a stay-at-home father, and they had 4 children. They had Sean, who was the oldest, Rachel, and then Sarah, and then they had a younger daughter as well. I also learned that a year earlier, Mark Staudte passed away at the age of 61 of an apparent heart attack. And then it was not long after when his son Sean, who was only 26 years of age, passed away. The medical examiner's office determined Sean's cause of death was sudden death and epilepsy. The timing of the incidents was strange, with all of them being so close together, and then with Sarah and Sean both being so young. I really wanted to find out what was going on in the Staudte home. Is it Staudte?
Staudte.
Staudte? Okay. I appreciate you being willing to come down and speak with us. Very helpful on your part.
I'll try to be.
Yeah.
Don't know what I can tell you.
Well, okay. That's what we're gonna try and get figured out. What about you and your husband, Mark? What was your guys' marriage like?
How can I say this? We were still married, but it was not what you call a good marriage.
Mm-hmm. Had there been infidelities on either side?
He had.
He had. Did Mark work at all?
No.
No, he didn't work?
No.
So what did he do then?
Played music.
Okay. So you were the breadwinner for the family. He didn't work, didn't bring home any money for you guys. And was there ever any physical abuse towards you?
No.
Nothing like that? Okay. I was trying to almost portray her as the victim, that maybe Mark was doing things that he should not be doing, and I could sympathize with her.
And when Mark died, it was actually a relief. I just don't tell people that.
Well, Diane, again, you're in here for a reason. You know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, is it bad if you argue with your kids and tell them, and I probably shouldn't have, it's like sometimes you'd be better off if you'd kill yourself. I'm a horrible mother.
I wouldn't say that. I think there's just a breaking point for everybody. We can only take so much. Now's your chance to tell us why and to show some remorse and ask for forgiveness. So tell me about it, Diane.
I know Sean and Sarah were very close. They talked a lot together, and I know Sean, he did talk about killing himself too. Put it really short and sweet. I knew they were drinking antifreeze, and I was so mad at them, I didn't want to take them in. I delayed.
How'd you know they were drinking antifreeze, Diane?
They told me.
You knew, Diane, that they were drinking antifreeze because you were giving it to them.
I didn't know what else to do. I really didn't.
Well, tell me about it, Diane. That's why I'm here to listen. Tell me about it, Diane. Tell me everything that was going on.
Just a lot of arguments. Both Sean and Sarah would just basically trash the house. They would do whatever they wanted to do and never helped support or even contribute.
And what were you putting it in?
Coca-Cola,
How much would you put in?
just a little bit.
How much is a little bit?
A couple of teaspoons, maybe.
It was noted to me that out in the garage on a workbench that there was a bottle of antifreeze that was right next to a 6-pack of Coke. It's just set up right out in the garage, almost as if it's getting prepared for the next go-round. Then one of our crime scene investigators told me that I probably should respond to our evidence room. So I immediately went there and he showed me a diary that had been located in Diane's bedroom, but it appeared to be that of Rachel's. It was just another twist in the case that you thought there's no way there can be more.
Rachel, do you recognize this?
Yeah, I remember this.
What is that?
Little journal thing.
A journal thing? Whose journal?
Mine.
Inside the diary, there was an entry that was written long before the passing of both Mark and Sean, where Rachel indicated that she knew that both her father and brother were going to be passing away.
It says, "It's sad when I realize how my father will pass on in the next 2 months." What does that mean?
And when she looked at that, she turned white. It was almost as if she had seen a ghost.
Rachel, whose idea was this?
Mom brought it up, and we discussed, but I remember her searching online, talking about different drinks that it could mix with, and you couldn't detect taste.
And by poisoning them, the intent was to kill them. Is that correct? Why did you guys want to kill them?
Dad was basically a drain on her, on us. He had no concept of money. Sean, I accepted that she wanted him gone, but I really didn't think he was necessary.
What about Sarah?
More or less, she wasn't going anywhere with her life, and that... Can't remember any other specific things, but just a general frustration and something needs to be done.
She was just very matter of fact, and the look on Rachel's face, it was extremely sinister, just void of emotion, and it was very eerie. During the court proceedings, there was a deal that was struck with Rachel that she would testify against her mother. The deal was essentially to give Rachel the possibility for parole after approximately 40 or so years in prison. Diane also ended up taking a plea deal. Diane's agreed sentence was that the death penalty would be taken off the table and that she would serve life in prison without the possibility of parole.
On the 6th of March, Linda Roberts woke up about 6 o'clock in the morning, went to check on her father, Anthony Tomaselli. She didn't think there was anything wrong with him, but it wasn't until her sister, Mary Beth Tomaselli, did a closer inspection of him and noticed that he was unresponsive and started yelling and screaming, and she called 911. When the paramedics arrived, Linda Roberts was doing CPR while Anthony was on the couch. EMTs took over, placed him on the floor because it's a much flatter surface. They tried to resuscitate him, but they were not able to do so. And he was pronounced deceased at the scene. Linda Roberts, she advised that they had all gone for a trip to the beach, and they returned back home and sat on the couch for some length of time. And Anthony Tomaselli fell asleep on the couch. It looked like Anthony Tomaselli just died basically of old age. Mary Beth Tomaselli virtually gave the same story that Linda Roberts had given, so there was no conflict in their statements between them. Once it was determined at the scene that there was no foul play, the body removal service responded, and eventually his body was cremated. Anthony Tomaselli's case was closed within a few days. Anthony Marsh called the sheriff's office, talked to the sergeant of the homicide unit, and basically said he had some information about Linda Roberts actually having confessed to him that she and her sister, Mary Beth, had killed their father in 2015. And during this confession, Anthony Marsh turned on his phone recorder and recorded the confession from Linda Roberts. He said that he plays guitar in local establishments, and the sisters did come in there to see him several times, and he is on friendly terms with both.
I appreciate you coming in. I'm Detective Nelson DeLeon, and this is So, first of all, I know you have your computer there. Did you say there's you have some audio of things?
I have video.
Okay.
To put like 6 of them in a little bit of, because he had a drink every night anyway,
Who had a drink every night?
my dad. I said, just put them in a little bit of alcohol, 6, 7 of them, and stir them up, because he was waiting for a drink. So, what does she do? She makes a drink this
Who?
big.
Mary Beth?
Yes. Instead of making a little drink, she makes a big drink. Because the 7 halcyon would have been plenty enough to just let him go to sleep and sleep peacefully.
What is
Because
halcyon?
Halcyon's a sleeping pill.
We were surprised that she allowed him to have an iPhone pointed at her as she's talking about this murder of her father. It wasn't very covert. He had it on his leg and was pointing at her for some length of time. I just thought suspicious that she wouldn't have figured that out. We're glad that we had it, but we did think it was kind of odd.
She said, if you tell anybody, I could go to jail. I said, no, you could get lethal injection in Florida.
Now what are you doing? Planning on doing something to me?
What do you mean?
Because now you have me afraid that I knew I shouldn't have told you.
No,
And my sisters asked me, did you tell Anthony about Dad? I said, no, I have not.
Why is she scared?
Because she doesn't trust you.
I can't believe that you murdered.
Not me. Me and my sister.
I can't believe that
Don't
either.
put it just on me. We made the decision together as an act.
Do you know why you're here? Or no? Okay. Well, I want to explain that to you. Okay. So your father's deceased, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, his companion died 3 weeks prior to him, and he had dementia.
Okay.
And my brothers and sister and I all decided he was going to Brookdale.
Okay.
So he didn't want to go there.
All right.
So he went to sleep, snoring away. And it was probably about 2, 3 in the morning. My sister said, why don't we go lay in Dad's bed and get some rest? He's sleeping, he's quiet. We said, okay. So we get up in the morning, about 6 o'clock, and I walked right past them, went into the kitchen to make some coffee, and my sister got up, and she went over and checked on him, and she yelled to me, something's wrong, Dad is not responding to me. So she called 911, they came, and I was doing CPR on him, and they came in and they said, you need to get off your father now, we're gonna continue. And I said, continue CPR on him, please.
Her story was the same story that she gave in 2015, and I'm shaking my head probably during the interview knowing that this is BS because we've gone so much further than this now. Like, it was time to move forward and be the pointing of the stick.
Okay, let me just walk you through this a little bit, just to bring you up to speed. The conversation that you had with Mr. Marsh,
Yes.
we were listening to that conversation. Okay?
Okay. Anthony was the only person that we were joking around and things were said.
So we can cut to the chase that there was no joking about this. I have a digital crystal clear clarity, so you can read between the lines, okay? I actually had the same clarity with your sister
You talked to her?
about an hour ago. We tried to give you ample opportunity to tell what happened, but now you know that I know what happened. So we're going to cut through the BS. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. Now answer his questions and let's move forward with this. Okay? Do you understand?
I understand, but you don't have to be rough with me. So, I felt very bad for my father that he was suffering so bad. He was in pain, couldn't breathe. So, we took him for a ride to the beach, and then we brought him home, and she took the sleeping pills.
How many?
I don't know. She probably put maybe 10, if I had to guess. So my sister and I, we started euthanizing him because now we have to finish him.
Okay, and what'd you do?
So I just got a hand washcloth and she held his nose
And what'd you do?
and I put the washcloth in his mouth and
To block the airway?
blocked the airway. And you know the rest of the story.
We decided that we were going to put both Linda and Mary Beth in the same room together, which was being recorded, and see if there's anything to be garnered from this. Sometimes they say a lot of crazy things that they don't tell you during the interview.
Yes, I had to tell them.
They said they had questions for us, and I answered the questions. What time are we at?
Anthony,
You told so much.
I thought I could trust him.
Why?
I was having a hard time. I was having dreams. I didn't want to speak to me. I had no one to talk to. I told the police when we did it.
I couldn't watch my father suffer that way. Had nothing to do with his money.
Nothing.
Oh, look at us. We're going to jail. My life is over.
So is mine.
I'm surprised all of us in the same room together.
When you're a little bit older, 15 or 20 years could be a life sentence. I do believe that Linda was actually the ringleader in this, so I think that's probably why she got the higher sentence. This whole thing shouldn't have happened, but for Linda and Mary Beth, he eventually just became too much of a pain for them, and they decided to end his life, and that's a tragedy in itself.
I was at the station and I was doing some paperwork, and a gentleman walked in and he was requesting a supervisor. Brian Heisler, said that his main concern was where his sister was.
Brian said a day or two earlier he'd gotten a phone call from Phil and said that Roberta had passed away in Memphis, Tennessee, about 750 miles from Hartville, Ohio.
Philip told him that Roberta had passed away in the vehicle, and two EMS personnel took her body and said that they were going to take her to the coroner's office. And then Philip left and came home without Roberta's body. So Brian was definitely very upset and just wondering what happened. Our decision was to interview him at his home so he would feel more comfortable. My goal was to get him to open up and explain what happened to his wife, so I wanted to act like I didn't know that she was missing. Are you Phil?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I step in for a second?
Sure, good morning.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Hey, we had some calls from family members, and they just wanted us to come out and check and make sure you're okay on you and your wife. You guys okay?
I'm okay, yes.
Okay.
My wife passed away
Okay, when did that happen?
the 6th.
The 6th of
Yeah.
January?
Yeah. We went down to Memphis to see Elvis's down there, and she choked on her phlegm. She'd been choking for about a year.
Okay.
And she wanted to go down one more time before she died. I think she knew she was gonna die.
Okay. So this happened down in Memphis then?
Yeah.
So she was choking on her phlegm and there was an ambulance or?
Well, these guys were there, and they was checking on someone, and they didn't need any help. And I said, "Can you help me? My wife is having a very bad problem." And they said, said she was gone.
Okay.
She had passed away.
Where'd they transport her to?
I'm not sure where.
During that interview, there was an uneasy feeling because I know if that was me, I would definitely not be home when my wife's body is somewhere else. So where's your wife now? What happened to her?
They took her to a place where they cremate people.
Okay, and you don't know where that is either?
No. They said I didn't need to stay. If I wanted to, I could just go ahead and go home.
Even though I spoke with him, he still wasn't giving a lot of answers to help us find Roberta.
And in this day and age, you can't just drop a body off with some paramedics who are down in Memphis, Tennessee, and not know where they took her or what they did with her.
I contacted the coroner, contacted multiple EMS agencies, multiple hospitals in the general area, and there was nothing matching that name or description of Roberta. I thought the plot was thickening, and it was definitely getting weirder by the second. At this point, I believe there might be some foul play involved.
I was interviewing a couple people for positions in my police department, and Joan Bauer is a rock star police officer, and we hired her.
I talked to the chief about this case because it was all over the news. I asked him, hey, can I take a crack at this? You know, undercover, that is my background. The chief was like, yeah, let's give it a crack. They showed me a picture of him, but I did not read any police reports, so I could develop the undercover person that I needed to be without being biased. I started doing surveillance, and he made it pretty easy for me to get a pattern very quickly.
Where's the property at?
On Waterloo Road?
Are you gonna go to the Y right now?
Yeah, I got the
Artificial room?
She does, but she doesn't use it. He believed I was just liking him for who he was, and then it started with his wanting to help me take care of my mother. He told me how I should kill her, and then if I did, to call him, and he would come help me. And from there, I started to change the script and ask him more about himself. He said, my wife died not too long ago, and I pretty much acted like I was surprised. It seemed like I was getting closer to the truth and what he did to Roberta.
I want to know what drove you. I want to know what drives Phil.
I had had enough. I had enough.
Were you fighting, or it was just like...
It was a pretty good argument the night before.
Yeah.
But I didn't kill her. Actually, I kind of did.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
The video recorder died like right at that time, but I did have the backup audio device going. It was very eerie, and you could almost like see it peel off of him, the stress of just carrying it all this time.
Say I get ill.
Yes.
Or they take me to jail.
They're not taking you to jail.
Say they do.
Okay.
I want you to get your attorney to come and marry us.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Oh. So you could tell me anything, and then they can't make a spouse testify against a spouse.
Duh. Would be a marriage of convenience.
I have a good attorney down Cincinnati.
I got my camera.
Step up. You're kidding. Step up.
We entered the restaurant and he was in disbelief that we had a warrant for him.
Right up until he got his handcuffs put on, he thought for sure he had fooled us.
There you go.
He took him to Bullitt, Kentucky, and showed him a dumpster that he claimed to have put Roberta's body in.
We tracked down where the landfill was. And we went out there and we watched the 200,000-pound bulldozer leveling everything. It compresses everything. So she's somewhere in that 500 by 500 foot grid out there, anywhere up to 25 feet below the surface. But we just didn't have $15 million that would allow us to bring her back for proper burial.
We thought we could come up with more for the family, but that was the end of the line. That was very sad.
We said a prayer for her, and we left. It's not a happy ending for anybody, but there's bad people in the world, and we need intuitive cops to conduct these interviews and to be flexible with how they deal with people to bring justice to a case, justice to a family.
What is your emergency? What is going on? Hello? My mom was a knife. She's trying to hurt me. Who has the knife? My sister. sister? Quick, quick, quick! What? I got everyone coming to you, honey. Where is your sister? Oh my God! Quick, now!
I was on patrol, and I heard the call come over to dispatch.
Green Drive, I have a female with stab wounds. Attention, ambulance, ambulance is needed.
You could tell by the tone of her voice that it wasn't normal.
Sabrina has a 12-inch bread knife that she is holding in her right hand. She's covered in blood.
I could see blood on the blade. I can see blood on her. Immediately, we started screaming to drop the knife. It almost like snapped her out of whatever she was in, back to some type of reality. I kicked it away from her and we put her down on the floor. It was a very tense couple seconds.
The suspect, Sabrina Zunich, she was a 18-year-old foster child of Lisa Knoefel. Also inside the house was Megan Zanella and Haley Knoefel. Megan being 13 and Haley being 3 years old.
The father, Kevin, was away on a trip. He was a truck driver and he was in Michigan at that point.
Sabrina was in foster care for many years before she came to the Knoefels.
Sabrina landing with the Knoefels really represented a fresh start for her. She went from a troubled home with her biological father and grandma to a youth shelter where she did not want to be. She's getting along with the family. She's doing great at school. She's not getting in trouble. Things seem to be looking up for her. I couldn't find anything indicating something like this could happen.
Line, please. Yeah, you remember me, right?
Our main goal when we first interviewed Sabrina was to get Sabrina to tell us exactly what happened. We caught her coming out of the room, so we knew she did it. We wanted to know why.
So what do you recall?
Yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Getting done with my homework? Going, I don't know, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bed.
And we're at home?
Mm-hmm.
What, anything unusual happen?
I don't know.
How do you get along with Kevin?
Kevin and me are cool. I mean, he's more the one that helps me out. Because this has Megan to deal with, and so we made agreements a long time ago that if I need anything, that I can go to Kevin.
How about with Lisa? How do you dealing with her?
Me and Lisa have never been the best. She's never seemed to like me, and she's been wanting me out of the house.
What's your thoughts on how Lisa is not alive now?
What?
Well, you had a knife. And you stabbed Lisa.
I did.
Yes, you did. And Megan called the police.
That can't be true.
Bree, it is. I'm sorry.
This is really dead.
Denise is dead. Sorry.
I don't believe this. Nobody else is hurt.
Nobody else was hurt. Thank goodness.
Sabrina never denies committing the murder. She just acts confused when I tell her that she's the one who killed Lisa Knoefel. We could have waited here for 4 days and we were probably gonna get the same answers from her. We made the decision that we're just gonna cut this down because she's not gonna give us anything else that we need. I was hoping to find some text messages, some emails, some search history as to why this crime took place. Over the past several weeks, Kevin Knoefel and Sabrina text messaged each other over 1,000 times. I did not think it was normal for a foster father and a foster daughter to have thousands of text messages between the two of them.
Hang on, Rob Harmer.
We were confident that Kevin left for work at 8 p.m. the night before the murder, and he didn't get back into town until after Lisa's death. So we want to know from his perspective as to if there was any argument going on at the house before he left.
Then you told me you wanted to talk about his wife's work. Correct. That's the subject matter. Yeah. So.
I told his lawyer that we would just talk about the work, but I was hoping that maybe he would open up and give us some insight as to what was going on and why the reason that this happened.
Kevin, do you know anything that was happening at the house the night before you left for work that night? Well, hang on a second. We just talking about his wife's work. What's going on at the house the night before is not his wife's work. Okay. Where does your wife work at?
County Children's Family Services.
What does she do there?
She was a social worker for the Children's Section Unit.
He was looking down. There was no tears. There was no anger.
Were you and Lisa in the process of going through a divorce?
Okay, now we're getting outside the scope.
Kevin Knoefel was not willing to help the police in finding out exactly what happened to his wife. Why is he not cooperating with us? What is he hiding from us? So a proffer is a good faith first step when the defense attorney, the prosecution meet with the suspect. It's an opportunity for them to be 100% complete honest and tell exactly what happened. It's a first step into a plea agreement. We cannot use this against her in court.
What we believe from conversations is that what led up to this homicide, to this murder, is that there was another party involved in planning that.
Yes. This is Kevin Knoefel, my foster father. It was Kevin's idea, and it was talked about after we were having sexual relations, and him and Lisa were having problems in marriage. He wanted to get a divorce, but Haley, which is a 3-year-old daughter of his and her, was in the picture, and he wanted full custody. She would get custody, or it would be shared, and he didn't want that happening. So the alternative was for this to happen.
When was it, after you started to live there on a daily basis, that your relationship with Kevin changed? When did the sexual nature start to change?
It all started not with sex, but with massages, because he was a truck driver and his legs would cramp, so it was inner thigh. Then it progressively got into sex.
Does he ever tell you, hey, you can't tell anybody about this?
All the time.
Did he say what would happen if you told
Then
him?
you'd be taken out of my care and I could lose my foster parent license.
What did you say in response to that?
I would never do that.
Okay.
Tell on him.
As Sabrina and Kevin's relationship continued, Sabrina described the increasing tension she felt from Lisa, and that Sabrina felt that she wasn't welcome in the house anymore.
So Kevin convinced Sabrina that if she did kill Lisa and did get caught, that she would only do 2 to 5 years, that he would protect her, and that after she got out, that he would be there with her. They would buy a house, and basically she can be like a mother figure to Haley.
So have you talked to him since
No.
then?
Nada, no money on my books, no letters, no calls, no nothing. Nothing.
That's when we learned that Kevin helped plan this murder. It was calculated, and essentially Kevin using Sabrina to get his wife out of the picture and to collect life insurance money. Sabrina's childhood, I believe, is probably the most important thing to understand why something like this could happen. Sabrina had never experienced a stable family, a loving household, the sense of security, the sense of belonging. Kevin seemed to know how to prey on Sabrina's vulnerabilities.
In my opinion, the verdict came very quickly. The jury came up with a guilty verdict. I believe it took a matter of about 2 days.